Here's the discipline that just saved my month's revenue for June and helped take one of my potentially worst month and turn it into our potentially best month. You see, if you've been in business for a while, you know that feeling when pipeline dries up and the conventional advice and maybe how it feels is like, I need to do more. And that you turn that nervousness into, I need to find a different acquisition channel because this one's not working. I need to diversify. I need to get creative. I need to spin up something new. And the problem with all that is it takes time. So by the time that you get any of that spun up and you get to see revenue out of it, the cash has already been spent, meaning there's still that lag time, which means that your cash position is in a worse spot potentially. The contrarian and probably the right move for most of us isn't doing something new, but is doubling down on what's already proven. And that's what I learned this month. So in this video, I want to break down the panic I felt in May, what I saw that made me panic, and how I was able to make moves in a very strategic way that actually helped me flip June into a decent month and flip July into an even better month. For context, my name is Jake, and my wife and I have 4 kids, and after 4 layoffs in 2.5 years, we started our own companies. We co-founded our own, both now doing around 7 figures. Now, I run a B2B company that was modeled to do around $62,000 in June with a ton of offboards. Good for our clients, not great for cash flow, but actually landed at $82,000 and set up July to be tracking somewhere between $100,000 if nothing else closes than what's already contractually drawn up, and $133,000 if other things come in that are already in the pipeline. Here's how that happened. For context, my business, which we're going into our second full year, and I'm blessed to say that since January to, I believe, May, we've had somewhere between $87,000 to $100,000 per month in revenue. Now, while that's been great consistency, it hasn't been without stress, to say the least, because the meta ads that we were running in March broke silently. And if you watched my last video, it was very stressful because I've been trying to get back to it ever since. It was doing great, and then all of a sudden it wasn't, and it just compounded, and I had to start on the ground floor. The marketplaces that we relied on as well, that provided us at least one deal every 3 to 4 months, was showing to be pretty dry with little to no volume. Then we were looking at offboarding clients in June. It means that they're graduating, they're happy, but they're ready to go down to the maintenance plan, didn't really need our services and didn't want to continue building right now. And with no leads in the pipeline, that's a big hit. Now, the good news is I was able to see this coming and build up some cash reserves, but it's really a Band-Aid solution. And that low-grade stress just continued to boil month after month. It wasn't this one moment, but I almost panicked. I almost, cut Meta preemptively. I almost panic sold to anyone and, annoyed any other lead that we already had in the funnel just to get something in, or lowering prices, or taking on smaller projects, or go outside our normal scope, or potentially think about finding a cold email or a cold caller to offload some of this anxiety onto someone else. But of course, as you know, if you set up any new channel, that's a process of maybe 6 to 12 months before you start to see real movement. And so that's not going to solve the problems of today. So instead of panicking and trying something new, I just stuck the course. We knew what worked prior, and I just needed to double down and take that anxiety and put it into action. And so I stayed with Meta and just continued to refine and work at it, even if I wasn't sure if it was going to pay off. I kept the speed to lead high on marketplaces and could control what I could control, even if it was minimal lead flow. I doubled down on handwritten letters, and I'll talk to you a little bit more about that, of some of the results I've seen, which has been really cool, and how you can do it yourself next week. But notice I didn't hire anyone new. I got offered for me to try different things, but just kept the course. So if you're in a similar situation, and maybe you're a B2B business where word of mouth has gotten you so far, it doesn't make sense for you to go ahead and pick up the phone and start doing cold calling all of a sudden when things start to slow down. Focus on what got you there. So word of mouth got you there. Ask for referrals. Don't hire an advertising agency. And I'm saying that lesson to myself as much as I am saying it to you, because it's easy to fall into that trap. Because once I stuck with it, because you have to understand my mentality from May into the beginning of June was, I don't know what I'm going to do. We haven't had a real good lead in a few months. Meta still wasn't showing to have success that it was having earlier in the year before it broke. And I didn't know what was going to happen. But I stuck the course and controlled what I can control in the areas that I know actually affect my business and have got me to the place where I am today. And then on June 11th, a real meta lead came in that's potentially going to close in the next month. And then another lead came in that's going to close potentially tomorrow. And then I had I reignited a deal that closed at $32,000 a month starting in July 1st. And so the month I feared we were going to have a $40,000 drop actually only ended up being half that amount and only temporary because July is going to more than recover what that lost. But that's kind of the terrifying part is like you don't know it going into it. And that's why entrepreneurship isn't built for everybody. I didn't know that this was going to work out well. So I know it's like survivorship bias, but I say that to you is because I've been there in being in business for myself for a while. I can see the patterns in myself where I've done that. I've hired the agency or hired the LinkedIn agency or hired the ad agency or tried this or tried that. And it's offloading your anxiety onto someone else and hoping that they can solve it. Maybe you fall in that situation where that person does end up giving you what you're looking for and you find a new acquisition channel. But for most, it's taking that anxiety and actually channeling it into the actions that actually move forward your business. Because at the end of the day, you can either acquire more customers to solve your cash problem, or you can fulfill more customers. And you take that anxiety and channel that into whatever is lacking most in your business. So again, I only say it because I've done it multiple times. I've spent tens of thousands of dollars on things that I shouldn't have, that were a complete waste, that I should have channeled into what I knew worked. So I don't know who needs to hear this today, but if you're in a dry spell or revenue is dropping or you just haven't got leads in a while, don't grasp for the exotic or the new. If you're feeling nervous, channel that nervousness into more action, into what has gotten you there. If it's been knocking on doors, knock on more doors. If it's cold calling, do more cold calling. If your business has gotten to the place because of referrals, then ask for more referrals. Everything else is a distraction. And yes, it's going to be boring. And yes, it's going to be painful. But I promise you, if you stick with it, continue to optimize it, it will turn around.